Welcome back, guys. In this episode, I'm visiting a town in Idaho that's a pretty average American town with a county population of around 100,000 people. So, we're going to go to a few of the biggest car dealerships around to show you exactly what the pricing, transparency, and inventory is looking like so that you guys can decide for yourself what's going on in the car market in an average town. Is pricing looking better? Do markups still exist? And are we going to find some cool cars and trucks today? Stay tuned to find out. And if you like or appreciate anything that you see today, please consider liking this video. That small act of kindness really goes a long way in helping me know you want to see more stuff like this. But I'll also help you by having YouTube choose to show you more stuff like this. And then comment your thoughts and opinions below. What are you guys experiencing in your local car market? I'm really interested to hear from you. Thank you. Let's start out at a Toyota dealership, specifically the Tacomas. I really like these new 4th gens, and they're definitely growing on me. So far, it seems like the powertrain, the 8-speed, and the 2.4-liter turbos are pretty reliable. But I used to own a couple Tacomas. I had a 2nd gen and a 3rd gen. So let's see how pricing is, let's see how transparency, and if there's any markups like this dealership used to have, at least a couple months ago when I was here last. But the basic sticker on this TRD Sport, $43,000 after a few options, delivery destination, $45,000. And doesn't look like there's any other add-ons. So for $45,000, that is one expensive mid-sized truck. But that's a really good looking mid-sized truck. And then here is a silver metallic TRD off-road. No window sticker on the windshield. This one actually looks like it must be the used setup, 2 miles. So $48,000, maybe it was worth that. Maybe that's what the MSRP is. Maybe it has the 7-year, 100,000 mile certified pre-owned warranty. Otherwise, I don't know why there'd be a used TRD Tacoma with 2 miles on it. And for that price, do you seriously not get a sliding window anymore in the back? I know they're tiny on these new trucks, but seriously, just a flat piece of glass? That's a little bit disappointing. Here's another TRD Sport, but this one is in supersonic red, which actually looks really good in person. And it has a 6-foot bed. You can see there's bed lighting in here. But where is the storage? Both my 2013 and 2017 Tacomas had the storage cubbies, and those were standard. Those were low trim level trucks. I'm surprised that these don't seem to have them. But here's just a quick side-by-side of what the 6-foot bed looks like next to a 5-foot bed, next to another 6-foot bed on that very first TRD Sport. So there's definitely a distinction. The extra foot might make a difference, but honestly, the curves, the grooves, the angles of the 5-foot bed, even though it's not as practical, it looks really good. And this underground SR5, it again is kind of that weird situation where it shows that it's used with 2 miles. So hopefully this isn't something sketchy where the dealership's trying to make new vehicles look used as if they sold more than they actually did to customers. But at least it probably has that certified 7-year, 100,000 mile warranty. Correct me if I'm wrong, or correct me if you guys have more insight than that. Otherwise, this underground color actually looks pretty good in person, but I'm not sure that I would pick this over supersonic red or the silver metallic over there. There's definitely quite a few used 3rd generation Tacomas and this TRD Pro right here. It's a 2021 owner, and they're asking about $44,000. I'm sure you can negotiate that down. But these actually look pretty good. I actually drove one of these just a few days ago for a review video. It hasn't been released yet, but it will be soon. But it reminded me of how fun it was to own my 3rd generation, which actually looked like this, a metallic gray Axis cab. So that's much closer to my spec than some monstrosity like a lifted TRD Pro. But still, cool truck either way. There's a lot more open spots than there used to be, but I'm not seeing those window stickers on these trucks like I did before that had all those silly markups, Silajet and anti-theft and adding on over $1,000 of crap, basically. But here's a Nissan Frontier Pro 4X. This and the Honda Ridgeline, if you would call that a truck, are the last V6 trucks. This has a 310 horsepower little V6 motor. It even has a bed that's almost 5 feet long. This is the only configuration for the Frontier in North America. But it's a cool looking truck, and this competes pretty well against something like the TRD Off-Roads that you saw earlier. And there's a number of the brand new 3rd generation Tundras, but let's start with this one. I'm also curious to know how many of these are waiting on their engine to be replaced with that 100,000 Tundra unit recall or service bulletin that just came out. But $74,000 for this. It's a brand new one. It is the TRD Pro, so you'd expect a pretty penny for that. Oh, but wait, there actually is about a $3,000 markup plus the $1,300 of crap right there, if you guys can see that. So this is about $4,000 over MSRP. And keep in mind, the invoice on this one, what the dealership actually pays is probably $5 or $6 grand below MSRP. So ultimately, if this gets sold at this price, you probably paid about $10,000 worth of profit to the dealership, and you might be waiting on a new engine. I'm not sure if the 2024s are going to have the same recall as the 2022 and 2023s. After a quick look at the window stickers on these Tundras, I'm a little bit disappointed. They're not all listed to have this, but some of them do bluntly show that they have the $1,300 of nonsense and Silajet. And I don't think the dealership's going to install a legit ceramic spray or ceramic coating to your paint. I don't think that the theft deterrent is really going to be worth it. Isn't that why you pay for insurance? But still, even after any discounts that they're going to offer you, you tack that nonsense back on and you're back to the full price MSRP. But overall inventory at this dealership is definitely a lot more skimpy than it was last time I was here. It's been 4 or 5 weeks. The last time all of this was mostly full, and now it's just a bunch of used stuff. There are some 4Runners over here, but otherwise it's just all off-brand used vehicles that were traded in, presumably for Toyotas or I guess other used inventory that this dealership had. I'm not sure if this is the same white TRD Pro 4Runner that was here a few months ago, but this one still is $62,000 for a brand new one. Halfway through the model year, MSRP is $56,000. So invoice on this is closer to probably 50 or 51. So again, huge markups on a TRD Pro 4Runner when the next generation, honestly, is probably going to be a much more sophisticated, safe, and powerful version of this vehicle. I don't know how they're asking $61,000, $62,000 for an out-of-date 4Runner. As much as I like them, it hurts to say that, but this thing is not worth 62 grand. What do you guys think of this? This is a TRD off-road first-gen Tacoma. These were built from 95 to 2004. So it's definitely seen a lot of use. It just has a basic all-season tire on it. They're asking about $13,000. It has just over 200,000 miles, if you guys can see that. Sorry about the camera. So 200,000 miles, $13,000, but it's an automatic. I don't know why you'd buy an automatic first generation Tacoma, but what do you guys think? Is that a fair deal for one of these first gen Tacoma Legends, or is that overpriced? And even right in front of the dealership, there's a lot of used inventory facing the street, so maybe that's what they're trying to get your attention or draw you in with the less expensive vehicles and then send you more to the brand new expensive stuff if they can work their magic on you. But even a lot of these are all used. There really isn't as much new inventory as I've seen before, which is kind of surprising. But anyways, I think I've seen enough here, so let's move on to the next dealership. Now I am at a Ford dealership because I want to focus a lot on the F-150 since these are the best-selling trucks in America, or the F-Series, basically for the last 40 years. And since the first half of this video is focusing on the Tacoma, which is the mid-size truck. But these are 2023 examples, you can tell because the headlight housing doesn't have that horizontal gold bar quite the same way that the 2023s do. I did a full review of one of these. It's basically just slightly refreshed over this generation. But notice these are $49,000. Granted, they are a year old, but they do have the big EcoBoost in them. So it's the 3.5 liter, which is a really stout, really powerful engine. Hopefully you guys can see that. 2023 3.5 liter V6 EcoBoost. Full MSRP, $60,000. So sure, it's basically a year old at this point. You're buying something new that as soon as you buy it, it's then going to be a year old used vehicle, but you can get it for $11,000 off. And even though you do have to pay $250 for the nonsense storage guards, which I would honestly debate that, I would try to get that, where is it? There it is. I would try to get that off of there because that's what you're paying for, $250 for this. About $5 worth of product on the Amazon, but it does have a spray and bed liner, and it's about $49,000 for a full-size F-150 EcoBoost. It's really not a bad deal. Or if we look at the 2024, this one does not have a bed liner, but it actually does have the 5-liter Coyote engine if that's what you're wanting rather than the twin-turbo EcoBoost. So again, a full-size truck, and it's less than $50,000, which makes it a kind of a hard bargain to buy a Tacoma over one of these when you're getting so much more vehicle. But is the reliability going to be there? Is the resale value going to be there? You know, it's going to be a personal choice. You don't buy one of these to be a grocery getter and just to drive around town. You buy one of these because you're going to put it to use, and you need a truck for truck things. There's something really cool I'm going to show you guys in just a minute, but first we need to talk about this 2023 F-150 Lightning. It's currently $16,000 or $17,000 off. When I was here probably like 3 or 4 months ago, it was actually $23,000 off. So I'm surprised that it's gone down in the discount, especially when they haven't sold it. You would think that they'd be more willing to offer a deal. But 2023 MSRP, $94,000. That is just absurd for an F-150. It's basically just your regular $49,000 F-150 with a giant battery pack in the bottom. What makes this a $77,000 truck? If you guys have one of these, if you have any experience driving one of these, please comment below. I recently drove and reviewed the Silverado EV, and it's the first EV truck that I've driven, and it was the worst driving truck I have ever experienced. Vehicles should not weigh 9,000 pounds. They shouldn't have a 3,000 pound battery pack. The vehicle just doesn't handle very well. It's It's kind of sketchy going up and down curbs. I'm sure driving onto this little rock platform was not a very fun endeavor. For a truck, that should be a fun thing you do. That should be a fun off-road adventure, and it just wasn't. At least in my case, having to pull up on a few sidewalks in the Silverado EV. But this is really cool. These are all Ford Escapes, and a lot of them have like $3,400 to $6,000 mark-offs. Let's see if this is a 2023 or 2024. If it's a 2023, this is basically just the market value that it's probably dropped that as soon as you buy it and it's used. It does again have the silly $250 add-on right there. And it's a 2024, so that's actually a pretty good deal. $6,000 off of a MSRP at $43,000. So that's about, a little bit more than the average used car in the upper 20s and quite a bit cheaper than the average new car. But it is really nice to see that deals are coming back. For example, this Bronco Sport, the baby Bronco, you can lease it for $400 a month if that's what you're into. And there's quite a few of these, but if we reach around and we come around the corner, there's going to be the most Ford Mavericks that I have ever seen at one dealership. Check out all of these. There's probably at least a dozen of them here. These are the vehicles that a lot of people want. A lot of people can actually afford, so let's check a few of them out. So after looking through all of these, looking at the wheels, the options, the window stickers, there's only actually one right there. That's a steel wheel, cheaper option. But first, I want to show you what a lot of them look like. I just kind of like the color combo of this one specifically. But it has brown leather seats. Actually, a lot of these have brown leather seats, but the window sticker, it's about $40,000. Does have a little bed liner. Remember, this is just a unibody vehicle that's basically based off of the Edge or the Bronco Sport. It's all kind of the same platform, so it's a unibody, front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, depending on the powertrain configuration. But it's about $40,000 for one of these, so really only a few $1,000s cheaper than the Tacomas you saw earlier, or about $7,000 or $8,000 cheaper than the F-150s. So I feel like that's pretty rich for my blood, especially when this is just a unibody at the end of the day. If these were what they were supposed to be, $20,000 to $30,000 vehicles, then heck yeah, I'd be all day on board with those. But let's see what this one goes for. With the steely wheels, ride height looks noticeably lower than the other ones. That could also be the parking lot if it's uneven. But let's see what the sticker is. $29,000. And it's a 2024, no spray and bed liner. But overall, it's a nice little ride, and for under $30,000 in today's market, to have a truck bed of any sort, I think that's a pretty good deal. But there's more truck inventory overall at this dealership than I have ever seen before. Granted, it's been a while since I've been here, but I've never seen this many trucks, and the deals that I'm seeing today, I think that's really good evidence that the truck market is finally cooling down from how crazy it is. If it's collapsing, if it's crashing, if people can't afford vehicles, who are they going to sell these to? Eventually, you have to take a loss. You have to lower your prices, and hopefully people come to the conclusion that that's what they need to do before they go out of business. If the dealership is paying interest on all these vehicles, which they may or may not be, I'm not sure how this one operates, that's a lot of money that they're paying in interest, especially with today's interest rates. But it's really cool to see a little bit more transparency, a little bit better pricing options than what I've seen before. And then, is anyone really surprised that this Bronco Raptor, which MSRP's for over $90,000, is still sitting here a few months later? Thankfully, it's now down about $5,000. But a year and a half, 2 years ago when these came out, I was seeing these for about $30,000 to $40,000 markup. So it's nice to see that they're now selling for under MSRP, and that is if they even sell. Anyways, guys, I think we're gonna go wrap it up at a Chevy dealership, since Chevy is the most competitively selling against Ford, and Chevy and Ford, or the GM twins, are the only truck automakers in America that now still sell a V8, since Dodge has left the chat and they have gone to the Hurricane inline-6 twin-turbo engine. And it's time to wrap this video up looking at some Silverados and Colorados and seeing what the price and transparency and everything looks like here. But this is really cool. C8 that the dealership must actually take to the track as their track car, or the fact that they have all these other used performance cars, like a supercharged 5th generation Camaro on some weld wheels. That's pretty sweet. I don't often see stuff like that when I look around. And then a few other 6.2 liter cars, and then some C7 Corvettes. Anyways, let's go find the trucks. There's quite a bit of stuff here, so I'm gonna be walking around for just a second. Here's a few of the V6 powered Colorado, since these, like the Tacomas, are only offered in a turbo 4-cylinder now. But it's kind of crazy how these do not keep their value. Like the Tacomas, a 6-year-old Tacoma is probably gonna be going for at least 5 or 6 grand more than these Colorados. Or here's a 7-year-old example for $22,000. And only has 53,000 miles. I do wonder if this is the V6. It is a 4x4, has a spray and bed liner. So no badging, so it might be the 4-cylinder inline engine rather than the V6 that makes over 300 horsepower, but still $21,000 for what looks like a pretty well-maintained vehicle with some good tread. That's not too bad. Or this is the first generation of the Colorado that replaced the S10 shortly after that went extinct. It's not a V8, it's not one of the rare ones. It does have 109,000 miles, and these are kind of interestingly a 5-cylinder inline engine. This is actually basically the frame that the Hummer H3 is built off of. Not a super impressive looking truck, neither is the Hummer H3, but still cool that you can buy these and that they do have pretty good body lines, and you could get a 5.3 liter V8 version of one of these in some of the trims back in the day. Or if anyone's looking for an FJ Cruiser, here's one for $23,000. It's pretty old. It has 133,000 miles. These do keep their value because this was the last generation of FJ. I used to have one of these, and in fact, I think mine had the exact same rock sliders that this one had. Mine was built and lifted and supercharged with the TRD blower, a little bit differently than this one, but it is cool to see these because you don't often find them because it seems like the owners don't want to give them up, and honestly, I never should have sold mine. But I'm kind of getting off track, so let's start looking for the Silverados, and thankfully, a lot of these do have window stickers. Seems like there's quite a few, so let's see what we can find, and then I'll zoom up on a few examples. Seems like the price range is pretty similar to the F-150s. You can get these for the mid $40,000 ballpark, up to around $80,000, maybe even more. But some of these are pretty expensive half-ton trucks, and then other ones seem to be a pretty decent deal. It's not necessarily saying what it is off of MSRP, so maybe we'll look at the window sticker on this one. If it's $46,000 asking price, it's the small 4-door, and the window sticker, about $52,000. So maybe about $6,000 of discount right off the bat. Hopefully you could get an even better deal if you talk to them in person. And here's a few used Silverados that are still high trim levels. They're asking a lot of money. So do you guys rather buy one of these for $49,000 or a brand new F-150 with the EcoBoost, or the 5-liter for that same ballpark? And if you guys are going to shop used in general, would you rather buy a Chevy or would you rather buy a Ford? What do you think is going to be a better truck for you? What do you think is going to last longer? Here's a pretty cool Tacoma. It's definitely lifted, some aggressive all-terrain tires. I don't see any badging on the side. So, oh, there it is, blacked out SR5. So I was going to say, if there's no stickers on the bed, this is probably a low trim level. But 37.5, it has 43,000 miles for an SR5. Do you guys think that's worth it? I mean, it does look pretty sweet. You don't often see this blue color on the 3rd gen Tacomas, and it even has the rails on the roof. But it's just crazy how well Tacomas keep their value compared to something similar like this Colorado. It has 60,000 miles, so not too many more. It is a few years older, so it's not an apples to apples comparison, but it also has its own list of mods and a bed cover on the back, or a shell I should say, and it's about $31,000. So after looking around a little bit more, there's maybe not as many brand new Silverados as we saw F-150s at the last dealership, but it's just interesting that even today, dealerships between towns and within the same town, depending on the brand, their inventory is kind of all over the place. Some of them have a lot of inventory, like the last dealership having about as many Ford Mavericks as we found Silverados here that are brand new. And other dealerships just don't have that much, but I always recommend that you guys check out the competition. So call other dealerships in other towns, see who's the most desperate to make a deal, see who wants it the most. Maybe they have the exact vehicle that you want that's been sitting for a while, whether that's a 1200 horsepower Duramax diesel or it's just a regular Ram 1500 or 2500. So make sure that you guys don't overpay. Make sure that you guys get a good rate if you choose to finance. I always say pay what you can in cash if you're able to, if you're in that position. You know, delay gratification, wait a little while so that you don't get swindled. You don't make a spur of the moment decision that ends up costing you a lot in the long run. Make sure the deal works for you and shop around. Let's not pay markups. Let's not pay the greedy dealerships that are offering less vehicle for more money. At least that's my take, that's my opinion, and that's all this is. This is just my opinion. Anyways, guys, there's a lot of vehicles and you could probably find one that matches your budget, whether that's a $96,000 Silverado EV, one of the electric trucks, or it's maybe a $62,000 Colorado ZR2 Bison, which looks really good proportionally in person. Just find the truck that works for you, find the car that works for you, but make sure that you get a good deal and you're not overpaying for it. I'm sure I've rambled on long enough, so I basically want to leave it with the point of you can buy a lot of affordable vehicles. If a new vehicle loses 10 to 20% of its value in the first year, why not buy a 1-year-old vehicle? You still have tons of bumper to bumper warranty, you still have tons of powertrain warranty, but you just save 10 to 20%. Don't try to keep up with the Joneses. Don't try to outdo your neighbors or the people you see online on social media, because you don't know their finances. You don't know how behind they actually may or may not be on that situation. What you do know is your situation, your family situation. Do what's best for you guys. Don't overpay for a vehicle. Stay within your budget, act your wage, do all of those things so that future you is happy with the present decisions that you're currently making. Anyways, guys, I wish you the best. I hope you take care. Please like this video if you got anything out of it, and I'll do these more than about once a month. Subscribe if you haven't already. Comment your thoughts and opinions below. What are your thoughts on the car market, but also what are you guys experiencing local to you? And with that said, take care, guys. See ya.